Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.
Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Jean Thill, and on today's show, we're visiting with Duncan, Kyhl, and Parker Corwin. They just finished their first year of seminary. It's called the propedeutic year.
Yes, we got to have a little Greek in there. Yeah. Wonderful, Jean. It just rolls off your tongue.
But you call them the propedutes.
Yeah, and we'll see what they have to say about that experience. But here we are on the last weekend of the Iowa State Fair.
Yes.
I don't care what the polls say that had Iowa State Fair at 3rd or 7th among all the fairs. It is the great state fair, America's state fair. So Meredith Wilson and others should get credit for that. But so the concluding weekend, and Iowa Catholic Radio has been sponsoring a booth as custom.
Years.
Yeah, for years. So people have stopped by, but you have a last chance to do so. And maybe also get your soul in with the offering of the Sacrament of Reconciliation.
We have priests there for confession. We have deacons there to answer questions. We have lots of good Catholics there to just greet people and to be a part of that community.
Any swag involved? I don't know. We'll
always,
see. Possibly. All right. Well, good. Well, we continue the menu of saints, St. John Eudes this past week, kind of French spirituality and the Eucharist, and particularly the priestly heart. That is, it'd be a Eucharistic heart. St. Bernard, who would his very voice would draw men out of their villages and farms to consider monastic life as well. So looking forward to and then, of course, St. Pius X and the Queenship of Mary today, secondary patroness of the Diocese of Des Moines. So Mary's particular gaze and smile and mantle of protection around us. Thank you, Mary, for the graces that you continue to channel to us. Looking forward also tomorrow to formally install Father Rodrigo Mayorga Landeros at Christ the King Parish.
Okay.
He's been serving there for several months and even prior to that, but coming into his own, and a man with enormous gifts, and his journey to our country and from the native of Jalisco State and the Guadalajara region of Mexico. But we are so blessed that he calls Des Moines his home and our family that we're there. And then I'll be confirming a modest cohort at Sacred Heart in West Des Moines, but they have to break it up into two. So great opportunities. And, of course, next week we're looking forward to the Bishop's Celebration of Education also.
Already?
So, I know. And so Father Ross Caniglia, among others, he'll be a special honoree and speaker for us of the Sioux City Diocese incarnated, but a native of our soil, and his parents as well from Council Bluffs. So that'll be a great blessing for us. So let's not wait, Gene. Let's bring these great guys on board here. I mean, they're wonderful guys and a certain maturity. These are not 18-year-olds. These are men who had life experience before Christ's call to the seminary.
So they're 19.
So Parker Corwin and Duncan Kyhl, welcome. Thank you for being on Making It Personal.
Great to be on here. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so excellent. And these guys I look up to in many ways because their height is, exceeds mine. I feel like I'm among my own brothers here. And so great to have you. Summer experiences that you've had, and again, gearing up now for a more formal experience into the configuration stage, as they call it, the 4 years of major theology, having completed a year of this propedeutic year. Maybe, Parker, just, maybe before we even get into that, just give us, you got your 30-second speech of your native roots here, St. Francis of Assisi, but really St. Teresa Parish in Des Moines is your home parish.
Yeah, 30-second spiel here. Let's see how to.
Let's put the pressure on.
Exactly.
No.
A little bit about me. So I grew up in Des Moines. I went K through 8 at St. Francis of Assisi, and then off to Dowling High School. Faith was a big part of both, elementary school and then high school formation. But I was someone that, fell away from the faith in college. And so.
And we won't blame the University of Iowa for that, right? I mean, there are many who go off to Iowa and are going off to Iowa who will keep the faith, right? But your particular path, that maybe you experienced and experimented with other kind of ways of life.
Exactly. And I think it's all a part of God's story, right? I don't think my faith would be as deep now had I experienced other things. So
let's leave our listeners with that.
Yeah.
We kind of set the table for us, and there's our hook. All right, thank you.
We'll be back with Duncan Kyhl and Parker Corwin. They just finished their first year of seminary, that propedeutic year.
Hey.
Yeah, you have to learn how to pronounce that, folks. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Weekdays at 5 p.m., it's Catholic Answers, a live call-in program to offer Catholics and non-Catholics a chance to talk with world-class apologists and theologians. Catholic Answers, live on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network, connecting people to Christ.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. On today's show, we have Duncan Kyhl and Parker Corwin just finished their first year of seminary, which is called the propedeutic year. And I wanted to have them on, Bishop.
You're so proud of yourself.
I know.
You're just working that in at any moment.
I have worked on that word for several weeks.
So we were hinting and we were approaching Parker Corwin's Confessions in Iowa City, but we'll wait for the book on that. So, but Duncan Kyhl, welcome to you.
Yeah, great to be here, Bishop. Like Parker, I'm from the Des Moines area. Grew up going to St. Pius X Parish over in Urbandale.
Who now claims 2 seminarians in addition to yourself,
That's
Michael
true.
Posgate, right?
Some good men over there. And but yeah, Parker and I knew each other in high school. Actually, he was just a year above me at Dowling. We ran cross country together, and then parted ways. I went over to Omaha at Creighton University, and then upon graduating, studied accounting and computer science there, and then went off to Chicago for a couple of years working, and loved it there.
And we're downtown Chicago, right?
Downtown, very downtown.
Yeah, so is that kind of the fast living down there? Or?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I was a professional speed walker while I was there, yeah. Yeah.
Accounting and technology will serve him well as a priest. I'm just saying.
Which is harder, running or speed walking?
Man, speed walking. The cross country I like better, yeah.
Okay, well, wonderful. So, and working with a firm there, and maybe found somebody who captured your heart as well along the way.
Yep, that's true. That was a part of my story as well. A wonderful young woman before seminary, and leaving that relationship was very tough. But I can say now I'm very glad to be here, and it's been a very joyous year. God, very, very grace-filled.
Yeah, and I don't want to, go too deep into the weeds with that, but was that something that you and this woman mutually discerned, your call, or was it something you kind of had to do independent of engaging her?
It was definitely something, that we were doing together, but I will say that doesn't make it any less tough. It was very, very difficult to end that relationship. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But she could see in you a priestly soul, or all right, we won't.
Yeah, I mean,
she didn't want to see it. But.
It's a soul in progress, I'll say. So, I think she could see a couple of those things already there at that time, but things that God has been working on over this past year.
Okay, yeah. Nicely said, very gracefully said. Parker, you were also at work in a kind of a corporate environment?
I was. So, I spent about 4.5 years at Wells Fargo here in Des Moines. I was a sales consultant with them, and it was a great job. I actually lived, we're at the Iowa Catholic radio station. I was 1 block south of here. So this was kind of my neck of the woods driving here today. But, good time of work. I think speaking with different people around the country kind of was a early seed of this vocation where communication is such a big part of it, relating with people. And so whether you're selling a mortgage or, not, but selling the faith, so to speak, there's definitely that overlap for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And in that environment, did you find there were things that were faith affirming and the values that, you could really readily embrace, but also things that kind of sifted you?
I would say for sure. Yeah. I think most people that are working in the world, you find those coworkers where you can openly talk about faith, you can share freely, and then other times you act as a witness, right? Maybe to those coworkers that haven't experienced Christ. So, I think both and.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And again, so you mentioned St. Francis of Assisi, but as a young adult, professional, St. Teresa's is really where you found your faith home.
Yeah, so it was interesting. When I moved back to Des Moines, I just kind of assumed that St. Francis would be my home parish, but I church hopped for a bit. So I had the pleasure of going to a lot of different parishes in Des Moines, and just kind of let the Holy Spirit guide my discernment with where to call home. And it was one day I was, after Mass leaving, somebody stopped me and was like, hey, you should come to our men's group, or you should come to our St. Vincent de Paul meeting. And before I knew it, I was spending like 3 or 4 hours a week at St. Teresa's. And I was like, okay, I think this is where the Holy Spirit wants me to be. So
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, and perhaps with Duncan, you also know what it is to be in a relationship, considering the vocation of marriage.
yeah. So I was blessed to live in the Des Moines area and also date here before seminary. And yeah, it was really through my last relationship before seminary that God started giving me some more clear hints during adoration, Mass, just little ways that this idea of a priestly vocation started to enter my heart. But it was really kind of interacting with you after Mass one day where, I felt like the Lord made it clear that it was time to discern.
And, that was the Holy Spirit because, I don't go around, but I think I just had a little kind of toss-off comment and it captured your heart and kind of, the Word probes us and knows us, so reveals us to ourselves.
You don't have a lasso that you throw around any single guy saying, come be a seminarian?
No, it's not come one, come all, but things that you see, and it's intuition, perhaps, but for you, Duncan, your family was a kind of a garden of faith helping you to grow up, or were there things where, there were different fruits and some weeds in there?
Yeah, I mean...
and they may be listening eventually to this, so we want to tread lightly.
My whole family home with me here in Des Moines this week. They've all come in, so that's a great blessing to have everyone home. But yeah, I'm very blessed that my family grew up with the faith. That was something that our parents had introduced to us because it meant so much to them in their life, and it's something that's grown over their life as well, and as it's grown in mine. And so really appreciative to their formation as well as the formation that I received at St. Pius and Dowling. Very helpful there as well.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And you have how many siblings?
I have 3 brothers.
3 brothers, all boys.
Man.
Your mother,
and 2 nephews now at home too. So.
Oh wow, exciting! Yeah,
a lot of boys.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a locker room. Okay, all right. Yeah, and one brother with disabilities. Right?
Yes.
And can you tell the gift that he's been to your family?
Yeah, a real gift. John has been just a great joy and a very hard worker now. I think he's an inspiration to us all in his work. He just loves to work, and I think that sometimes work can get us down, but John, he just loves to get out there and work and be busy, and it's a great witness to me in my days in Chicago. Yeah.
When the daily grind sometimes is
not
a little oppressive, if not soul crushing, but anyway. Yeah. Where does he work? Where does John work?
He's over at Hy-Vee in Urbandale. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Does bagging some groceries, picking up the carts and this kind of thing. And it's just beautiful that it's not about the money for him, and he's just there. He loves to talk with people and be out of the house, really. Probably get away from mom and dad a little bit. Yeah.
Great. So you reach that point where you're ready to actually come out and make engage Father Ross Parker, Director of Vocations and now Director of Seminarians, and say, maybe I'm going to put my foot in the water on this. And then they start talking about the process, and oh my goodness, how many years are involved? And there's this year with this foreign name, the propedeutic year, and so that's an additional year, which even as bishops we were not necessarily warm to at first. But Parker, how would you describe to someone what you just experienced over this past year at the connection with the St. Paul Seminary, even though you were kind of in a distinct milieu?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I was one that had no idea how to even pronounce propedeutic as well. So, Jean, you're not alone. But yeah, I would say the last year is really focused on the human side of formation. And so you're in classwork, but it's pass-fail. It's more discussion-based, trying to get you engaged and interested in different areas of the faith that you maybe haven't experienced. Along with that, you're doing, group therapy with seminarians. You got counseling work you're doing, along with just the standard formation. So a lot of it is that interior work and that interior discernment before starting traditional classwork, which was incredible. I mean, imagine taking a year of your life and saying, I'm ready to give this all to the Lord. that's really what the propaedeutic year was.
Wonderful. And for you, Duncan, you'd had a fast-paced life. Was there a kind of like,
Yeah.
I mean, from being so active to kind of now living a hidden life. And some have likened it to a novitiate. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but was there a shock to the system?
Yeah, it was a big, felt like a downshift coming in the fall from the working world. But that transition, though tough, was very, very good. And along with all this human formation and many other things, there are different features, the tech fast, the poverty immersion. These are kinds of things, and just a lot of downtime, honestly, a lighter class load. This all is intended to create the space for a lot of this spiritual formation, which is really the foundation of how we're moving through our philosophy studies, our theology studies, and really everything beyond. So that was a tough transition for me to slow down.
And
May I? What when you say tech fast, what does that mean? And when you say poverty, poverty, right? You guys look like you really suffered. I mean, what does that really look like?
Yeah, Parker, you want to tell them about the poverty or the tech fast?
Yeah. So
you guys just take over the show. I'm out of here.
We'll see you a little bit, Bishop.
Yeah, with the Tech Fest, we're on a 6-day cycle of no phones, no internet, no computers. So, all of our coursework, we got our, notebooks and pencils out, which I don't think I had done since maybe junior or senior year of high school.
That's really old school.
Yeah. But no, the intention behind it is disconnect and then connect with your brothers. And so I think one of the main fruits right away was deep friendship with these other guys that are disconnected as well. Okay. But Saturdays we had them from 9 to 5, so we had a little bit
of check-in, call the mom,
make
sure things are all right there. Yeah.
I hear that maybe even this year going in for the next cohort, they're going to have dumb phones even, and that's what they'll be using even on the one day that they're permitted to use them. So I don't know if you'd heard that or not on the street, but
yeah, there's some talk about that. I think an even deeper disconnect could be even more fruitful. Yeah.
So, the kind of wasteland that's there, but our Pope Leo, in his most recent message about the magnificence of our humanity, he speaks about the way without careful attention, a system and a love for truth, lacking in love for truth may emerge. This incessant flow of information replaces the essential exercise of research, reflection, and discernment. People can know many things, but that kind of deeper knowledge and sense of purpose requiring rhythms that incorporate silence, in-depth study, reading, and judicious analysis, for without these elements, inner freedom may be compromised. So, Duncan, are you a freer man than you were a year ago?
I would say I'm a freer man, and you're right. There, it's for not having a phone and access to a lot of the news, it's kind of surprising the wisdom that actually the Holy Spirit can give in this time. Even though you're not doing intense research. God, who is, all knowledge and truth, can infuse these in times of prayer. That's really beautiful. And, I would say the motto that we have at our house is age quod agis, which is a Latin phrase meaning do what you're doing, which is essentially be present to the present moment, to who and what is in front of you. And really this is the place in which we encounter God. The present moment is the only place where we can do that. So, Parker's mentioning the fraternity that gets built in the house. That's a large part of this disconnect, being present to the guys in front of us and the ways in which God comes to us through them. And but it's been nice to disconnect and things like that.
So the rule of life, it did include, like in the former, 50 years ago, the seminary had grand silence. Are there periods of designated silence even? You talk about trying to get to know the brothers. So how was that, Parker?
Yeah, so we actually started every Wednesday morning from our holy hour through the end of classes, we had silence. So starting each Wednesday in that way, it's interesting. I can't tell you how many times I would be like, waking up in the morning, walking down the hall, and like just ready to talk to somebody and then think, no, this day's for the Lord. So we had that, but then also during the fall and spring semesters, we did about a 4-day, 5-day silent retreat. And that was incredible. I think that really kick-started deeper prayer for me. I had never reached a level of contemplation like I had on the spring retreat. And it was just cool feeling the presence of the Lord in a new way based on that silence.
Wonderful. What a grace, and to see the gift that is and the luxury that the church is affording you in that time. Now, that's not to say that I wouldn't find myself going through withdrawal, checking the Cyclone scores and not being able to do that, or the Blue Jays or the Hawkeyes or whatever. I don't know if that was tough for you, but I guess that's what does the Lord require? And, the world goes on without being plugged into some of that stuff. So we're going to go into a period of silence here as we turn it over to our sponsors, including the Sarans. So grateful to them for their sponsorship of this show.
We'll be back shortly with Duncan, Kyhl, and Parker Corwin. First year seminary done, the propaedubic year. Oh my, I almost got it right. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Join host Katie Patrizio as she explores the original language, historical backdrop, cultural environment, and Old Testament context of the scriptures, focusing on the upcoming Sunday readings. Sunday Dive, Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Central, only on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
The St. Paul Seminary has a January term, lots of different experiences, but there was a poverty immersion, Duncan, that actually spoke to you and then was kind of the prelude to your summer experience. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's true. Both Parker and I were on a poverty immersion experience, but they sent us to different locations. Parker was in Detroit, and myself, I was down in Phoenix at a place called the Andre House of Hospitality, named after Saint Andre Bessette, was a brother of the Congregation of Holy Cross. You might know them at the University of Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. It's a great oratory in Montreal and the devotion to St. Joseph.
The congregation has a house down in Phoenix that was started about 40 years ago, started to serve the homeless and the poor in the Phoenix area, which they have quite a few thousands down in the Phoenix area. And so in this past year, 3 men, 3 women who have volunteered a year of service at the Andre House, and I joined them for the month of January, integrating into their life of prayer and service, almost Benedictine in their model there. And I loved it so much I wanted to come back. And so that's where I was this first half of the summer. Really wonderful experience.
Beautiful. And just serving the people who would come there for a meal or out on the streets? Or
Yeah. We would serve services throughout the day, but in the evening we would have up to about 700 meals a night we would serve for our dinner service, but many more services during the day, showers, clothing, hygiene, these kinds of things. But ultimately the most important service that we were giving there was love, and I realized that that's not just a secondhand thing that, we can't cover their material needs so we can love them, but actually, that's their greatest need, is to be seen, to know their name, look at them in the eyes. What I realized is their greatest need.
And I think of the late Pope Benedict XVI, and he said this is what people are hungry for, the look of love that honors their dignity. And so you were a font of that for people. And of course, they were looking at you and sharing the eyes of Jesus gazing upon you as well, and those you were serving. Parker, you were here in the Metro, and the charism of St. Vincent de Paul was part of your experience.
Yeah, I've had a great summer completing an internship with the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. I was blessed before seminary to get involved in that organization, and having a free summer before pre-theology 1, it was, Lord, what do you want me to do? And talking with, Steve, the CEO, we were able to craft up a summer of visiting different conferences around Des Moines. So what a lot of people don't realize is, yes, we have our main thrift stores. There's, kind of that face of the organization, but the backbone is the parish volunteer groups we call conferences. And that's when, a parish gets a call for rent assistance, clothing for kids going back to school. We would send out 2 to 3 Vincentians on a home encounter where you meet with the person in need, you pray with them, and then you hear their story. And that was a huge, I think that taught me a lot about Catholic social teaching before seminary. And I think wherever God leads me in this path of discernment, he's blessed me with having a passion for the poor. So it's been a beautiful summer.
Tremendous, and what a great grace, and that charism of St. Vincent de Paul, Louise de Marillac, and I think both of you, in your own distinctive way, but a similar charism, and that I think is a core thing we would want to see in men who are aspiring to the priesthood. Pope Francis would say, that the peripheries are really where the church needs to live and bring life. And so thanks to both of you for what you did. And then, of course, Duncan, you had a little 30-day retreat, which brings its own sifting of soul, but a reservoir for you. And unfortunately, time is running out, so that will remain mystically known only to you and God and your spiritual director, perhaps, in the months ahead. Will you continue with the same spiritual director? Last lightning round here, same spiritual director, or will you undertake a new spiritual director?
It'll be new. Yeah.
New, yeah.
All right. Well, I pray that discernment, and I pray that connection of trust unfolds. I feel a certain kindred spirit for you as I worked and taught pre-theology for 18 years. So the philosophy that you'll be studying, both in the seminaries and University of St. Thomas, blessings to you. And even now you are anointing our Des Moines Diocese by who you are and your responsiveness to Christ's call. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us on, Bishop.
Thank you, Bishop.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Thanks to our guests and all of our listeners, whether in Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, St. Paul perhaps, to listening to Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.
What legacy would you like to leave? As part of the Legacy Society, your gift supports the future of the Iowa Catholic Radio Network. By participating in the planned giving process, you can be assured that when you leave this earth, your charitable gift will continue to support this apostolate and its mission of connecting people to Christ. If you're interested in including Iowa Catholic Radio as part of your charitable gift planning, call me, Belle Marasco, at 515-223-1150. Thank you for your prayerful support.